So what's with Eli?
Eli's got the plague. It's not funny, bro.
It's like contagious?
Incredibly, but only through touch, so if you're exposed, oh man, you just gotta wash yourself like that. Turns your brain to baby food. No brain, no nothing.
Hello, Everett and Kayo. How are you doing, guys? Nice to speak to you.
Doing good. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks. Thanks very much for speaking to me. And thank you so much for a fantastic film and two fantastic performances as well. They're just so good, man.
Thank you so much.
So, I mean, my first question is for Kayo. I'm going to put you on the spot. One of the, I don't think it's a spoiler. One of the phrases that you use in the film is "Don't let what other people think decide who you are."
Yeah.
Which is I felt was, I mean, it kind of sums up the whole movie in a way.
Yeah.
Because not only does Ben, the character of Ben, have to kind of go through that and try and be himself and go through this ordeal and kind of remain himself, but at the same time, Kayo, your character, Jake, it's kind of very ironic that he should say that because he all the way through, I kind of the way that he acts is not himself because he wants to kind of give this appearance to everyone else that's kind of surrounding him. No. So I'm
Yeah,
kind of curious
covering
what kind
up
of
the problem.
conversations you had with yourself and also with Charlie and the rest of the cast about kind of playing Jake and the irony and that kind of that quote that he comes up with halfway through the film.
Yeah. I think that quote was like actually it's crazy that it does kind of sum up the movie and like Ben's role, and kind of my role too, because I'm like I've said, I'm just covering myself up with confidence, but I am definitely an insecure kid because what's going on at home and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, they actually took it out. But I say that and I say Dennis Rodman, and then Ben looks on the wall and it actually says Dennis Rodman and it says the quote right there. So I'm like I like the original scene was, or no, not the original. Like later on, they um they put that quote on the wall and it's like I just look up, I see that, and I just say that to him. But it's true, honestly. And yeah, now that I watch it in the movie, it really does like sum up me and Ben's character.
Uh-huh. And then a couple to that, Everett, Ben kind of he goes through quite a journey because at first he kind of falls into kind of peer pressure and kind of wants to be with the group, and then kind of the effect comes back on him in the end, and he has to suffer what he all sort of kind of helped to kind of make bad for Eli for Eli now in the film. So I'm quite curious what kind of conversations you had with Charlie about kind of kind of being into this group and kind of succumbing to peer pressure, and then kind of having to kind of deal with the after effects of that and kind of the opposite.
I think I I mean obviously it's a very like he Ben is a very most of the characters in here are very layered, but especially because I'm playing Ben. Ben is a very layered character and he has he has nuance to him, and I think I sometimes I found it, I had questions on what his motives were or what he was trying to do in the scene. So I really think just talking to Charlie because he was his story hit so close to home for him, he wrote it and he's directing it. He has such a great vision and very clear intent on who he is and who Ben is and what the story is. And so I feel like just talking to him about that whenever I had questions about what Ben was doing, what he was thinking, talking through that with Charlie. And also I think as far as like his his character arc, like turning on Eli, I think what we had talked about was he is so insecure and so afraid of being bullied and judged that throughout the film, when it is happening to him and him seeing its impact on Eli, it kind of boils up inside of him, and he gets super anxious and he gets super nervous, and it just kind of gets to a level at a point where it turned into his hatred to Eli or his anger towards Eli. And so I think that that's the reason why he did what he did, and why he became kind of a Jake near the end towards Eli, and and yeah.
Hmm. And for, a question for both of you. I mean, because you're still very, very young. I mean, I've just turned 50, and I still bullying is something that nobody's going to understand really why it happens. There's so many different reasons. So I'm
Yeah.
quite curious, kind of what you learnt, or what was maybe kind of cathartic for you, or as a release, kind of because I'm sure that these are things that you see on an everyday basis because it's something that just happens all the time. What kind of things did you kind of gain from this film? Start with
I would
Kayo.
probably say like how how it the psychologically it can be a lot worse than straight up bullying, and in like the a lot of the early 2000s and 80s and 90s movies, it's always like the jock kid and the kid who is straight up and bullying him and physically bullying him, and like doing stuff with the lockers and the lunchbox, and like Ben was saying, like swirlies and wedgies, all that stuff, like it really, it's cool how psychologically it can make such a big impact, and I think it can honestly be worse. And I was talking to Charlie, like when I was first reading the script, I wanted to do more like straight up stuff, but he was like, no, it's better if you're just getting in his head, and it really did come out better like that, I think.
Hmm. Um,
For me, I think like what you said earlier about the quote in the movie that Jake has, it's very much around that. I think it obviously explores bullying and how it can mess with you, but I also think like throughout the film we see Eli and Ben are similar, but they're also different because Eli is getting bullied and he's getting picked on, but he doesn't change himself and he doesn't change who he is. And we see, especially near the end, that he doesn't really care. Like he's a happy person. He's even if he's getting picked on, he doesn't feel like he needs to change himself or he needs to be different. And that gives him sort of a peace, I think. And that's a very big contrast from what we see with Ben, who's also getting picked on and bullied, but he feels like he has to be different and he has to change himself and try to fit in with these people. And ultimately that just makes it worse for him and it makes life worse. And he becomes very angry and anxious and paranoid. And I think it just, the script does a really good job. Charlie does a really good job of like writing that in and showing that when you do alter yourself for other people, it doesn't work out for you.
hmm. I think Charlie also he kept you on your toes in certain things that you weren't expecting. Is that right? I was reading. I think there was one of the early scenes. One of the producers screams all of a sudden behind the camera, and that was something that you weren't expected. But they said that you were a complete pro and just kind of kept with it. No, was there a
Yeah,
lot of those kind of surprises?
there was a scene. I think we like this. Are you talking about the scene where I see Eli with his rash for the first time?
That's
Maybe
right.
it's
Yeah.
that one. It's like Charlie's wife Lucy, who's also a producer on the movie, was we just kind of we took the place of Eli in that scene, like for my coverage, and started screaming at the very top of her lungs, and that was like a very genuine reaction. I don't know which take they used, but there was at least one take where I was genuinely terrified of the blood and him like fake cutting his finger off. So yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of Charlie was very open to improvisation and trying different things and letting us kind of feel out the scene and the characters and yeah, we did stuff like that. We did exercises and we had some people fill in for other people and do wild random things like screaming, or like there was another variation of that scene where they just played like a soundtrack of fart noises, and so like it was more like a comedic thing. And yeah, I think yeah, for me that was how they handled that. That was very useful, being able to kind of um explore and not be trapped and do like one single thing and have no
Yeah.
wiggle room to move.
Uh-huh. Just to finish off, but I've got 2 minutes left. Kaya, I think that Charlie came up with you. He found you on Instagram because I think you were you were a skateboarder and a bit of a prankster and a
Yeah.
cook as well. No,
Yeah,
was it?
yeah.
I mean, there you mentioned that you were allowed to kind of improvise certain things because you are a bit of a prankster. on Instagram and those kind of things. Was that kind of, did you bring ideas to the table to kind of maybe do certain pranks, and were those pranks in the final cut?
That was fun for sure. It's just hard because, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do is, you know, 2024 stuff and the words that you use in 2024. And I think he found me on like an interview. So when I would try to use some of like the 2024 slang and stuff, it doesn't work, you know. So
Yeah.
but there was definitely some stuff, you know, like he let me skate in the movie, and yeah, like I used to do crazy stuff like put like buckets on people's heads and stuff. So we had some of that in the movie, but it never made it in. But yeah, he definitely had me doing some of that stuff for sure.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, guys. A huge congratulations. Like I said, the performances are spot on. So congratulations, and I hope the launch goes really, really well next week.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great release. Have a great time. Cheers,
Thank
then. Nice to speak to you.
Someone giving you a hard time, Ben.
Why are you doing this to me?